kind of got cold feet a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks to say that because going in, I really wanted that to work out with somebody. I thought it almost felt like a fate thing. You go on one of those shows and like, especially when somebody reaches out to you, it's like, this almost feels like it's like meant to be.
Like, is this how I'm supposed to meet my person? All right. Hey, Connor. Welcome.
Hey, Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Good. Doing well. I'm just finishing up work for the week and getting ready for the weekend. So it's good to be here.
Well, before we get started, I wanted to make you feel more comfortable. I wanted to make you feel more at home. So
okay.
I did
okay.
bring a little something for you.
Nice.
So we have our gold glasses.
It feels so much more comfortable now.
You feel like you're back?
Back at home. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's more comfortable or PTSD or...
And I brought you some drink options.
Okay.
So I know when I texted you, I told you non-alcoholic, but that's because I didn't want to get you all buzzed up and affect your question answering abilities.
Yeah.
But my husband was like, no, he deserves some alcohol. So your options are, we have either Coke Zero, regular Coke, water, there's a Modelo, and then there's a Michelob Ultra.
I'll do the Modelo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we really have a can opener, so I brought a bottle opener, so I brought you our whole can opener.
Perfect.
For you to see what you can do with it. I don't drink, so I will be having a Coke Zero.
This is the first time the alcohol has ever gone in these gold cups before.
Really?
Definitely not in the show.
What do you normally drink on the show?
No, I mean, usually... in the morning they had a fully stocked bar. I mean, you could have really whatever you wanted. All the pods had alcohol, so you could drink as much as you wanted, as little as you wanted.
Oh my, that sounds dangerous.
yeah. Depending on who you are, it can be dangerous. But they never forced anything. I mean, like, I know that was like some of the rumors that like, oh, they make you drink. Like, you could completely do whatever you wanted. If you didn't want to drink, you didn't have to. If you wanted to, you could get wasted if you wanted to.
Man, okay. So I'm sure that made for like some interesting conversations. But go ahead and like tell us a little bit more about yourself. Like, what's your age? I know they had like all that stuff posted on the show, but just kind of, update us. Let us know like who is Connor.
Yeah. So I'm 31 years old. From Texas, geologist. Born and raised in Texas, good old Texas boy. Went to school at Texas A&M for my master's degree. Gig 'em Aggies, yeah. I right out of school started working just like everybody else. Got to live in Madrid for a year for work. So, and then came back and been in Houston ever since.
Man, okay, all right,
yeah,
that's so cool. So, how long have you lived in Houston?
Been in Houston for now about 5 years, or total about 5 years.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So longer than me. I've only been here a couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm from Austin, so.
Okay, yeah.
So when was the season of Love Is Blind filmed? Like time wise?
Believe it or not, it was over a year and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah. So it's weird whenever this stuff comes up. It finally, when everything finally aired, it was like, okay, I'm trying to remember all the stuff that happened because it was so long ago.
Right. It's like past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff has happened since then. Just, your personal life, work stuff, everything. So once it finally got here, it's like, okay, I got to remember all this stuff. I have to reach out to friends, get prepared for everything. So it was a long time. And I think it's just because of editing. They had, during COVID or something, they had a backlog of seasons they were doing. So they just like staggered it out. But yeah, it was a while.
So did you have to like tell your job, be like, hey, I'm doing a reality show. Like, I'm going to need time off work. Like, what was the process for that?
Yeah. And I was a little bit nervous at first. Just because you don't know. I didn't know how to even start that conversation with my boss. Like, hey, can I go on a reality TV show where I might get engaged? And maybe get married.
You're
and
like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, I mean, my boss thought I was joking at first, and then I kept telling him about it, and he was like, "Are you serious? Like, is this a real thing?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean, they said that I'm going to be in the final cast, so I think it's going to be a real thing." And then I had to tell my director, which he thought it was hilarious, and thought it was great. He was, he even told me, he said, "Hey, if you can, just ask Netflix if they got any additional roles for things. Put in a good word for me." So stuff like that, which is great. It made it much less stressful. Doing that and taking off. Plus, I was lucky to have the vacation saved up, so it wasn't like I was requesting a bunch of
that's good
vacation I didn't have or something. So
I'm glad they were like responsive to that, because I used to be a teacher, and I'm thinking like if I had asked my principal, hey, like I'm gonna go on a reality show, I need a couple weeks off, they'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, like I don't even know how Taylor was able to take off. Like, because she was a teacher.
Yeah.
And I know, like, administration is crazy. So. And
that was probably. So we filmed that back in April. So that would have been right during the school semester. Like, it would have been tough.
Man, I'm glad. She must have had some really nice administration.
Yeah.
But, like, how did the show, like, reach out to you? Like, I know I've heard a couple of things. Like, I've heard people saying, like, oh, I was on dating apps, and, like, they found me on the dating app, like matched me, and then reached out to me like through Instagram. Like, what's your story on that?
So believe it or not, I did not apply for it. So I had just somebody randomly reach out to me on Instagram. My profile was on public for whatever reason, and they sent me a message and said, at first I thought it was spam. Because they said, like, it's a Houston singles project, and we'd like for you. This is like, this is sketchy, yeah. And they reached out. She said, hey, you can verify me on LinkedIn. Like, this is legit, I promise. And from there, it just kind of went one step to the next. I had seen the show. I had seen the previous 2 seasons had been out, and so I knew what it was all about. And I loved, especially the first season. I loved the first season.
Was so good.
Easily the best. Yeah. Behind our season, of course. But so they kept sending us messages, and we had to send like personal videos, pictures. Had to do like an hour-long interview with somebody. Like, the process was actually pretty well vetted. Like, they did background checks, they did psychology tests, personality tests, like all sorts of stuff before we were actually approved. And so they vetted it pretty well. I mean, towards the end, I was like, God, just tell me if I'm on the show or not.
How long was that process?
It probably took, let's see, we went in April. I think they reached out to me in like late January, early February. And then they didn't tell me I was in the final cast until probably like 1st of April was when they were like, okay, like you can start requesting time off and make all the plans. So it took about a month and a half or so, 2 months.
That's a lot, man. Yeah. Doing all that, and then you're like working too, and then you're scheduling everything. That sounds like a lot. Yeah.
You're trying to figure out, okay, am I on the show? Am I not? I remember reaching out, and they kept saying, well, you're still in the running. We're still waiting to hear from Netflix and all this stuff. So it was just a lot of back and forth, and it felt like it was like anytime they would ask for stuff, it was like, hey, can we have some more stuff? Can we have more videos or pictures of you doing whatever hobbies, whatever you do? And so it just kind of kept going, and I mean, I couldn't believe it once it actually, because at the beginning it was like, oh, this will be fun, I'll just try it. I'm not going to make it.
It's not a big deal. Like, whatever.
There's no way I'll make it on there, so I might as well just try it. And then it just kind of like each step kept getting closer and closer.
You're like, oh wow, like this is real.
Yeah, and then once it was okay, like I need to actually think about this, and do I really want to go on with this? I mean, right before we had to decide, I told like a couple of my friends, like I talked with friends and family and almost didn't go on it just because I had seen the previous seasons. I knew kind of what comes with it.
They kind of didn't want you to like something to happen and like your life get ruined. Like, lose your job, like
that
you
was
get painted as the villain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was what I was the most worried about. I was just worried about how it was going to be portrayed. My family, I mean, I love my family to death. I think they'd be fine on TV. I think my mom would stress out a lot just being on camera and everything.
She's like, I don't want them talking bad about my baby. Y'all don't talk about him like that.
Yeah. And the funny thing was she was all about it at the beginning. And then once it got closer and closer, she was like, yeah, I don't know about this.
So you get the okay, like, okay, you're going to be on the show. And then like, are they buying you a ticket and like flying you out to LA? Like, how did that go? Yeah.
So they flew us out to LA. The set was in LA, mm-hmm. And so most people think it's like in the city that we do it, but it was all mm-hmm. in LA. And
they don't have Nick and Vanessa traveling around like that.
Yeah, yeah, flying them all over the country like that. But yeah, I mean, it was in LA. The studio was there, and we were there. At least I was there for 9 to 10 days in the studio. So. And so, yeah, it seemed a lot longer than 9 to 10 days. So they take your phone, they take any like outside connection. Completely. You're isolated. Yeah. Which I totally understand. Like they don't want you reaching out to somebody else, like
checking social media.
Yeah.
Looking at the news.
Yeah. Hey, do you know Lydia, the geologist? What does she look like? They don't want you reaching out and doing stuff like that. So, totally makes sense. It just made time feel like it went by at a snail's pace.
Yeah, like what do y'all do? Like what's your fun? like while you're like waiting and you're hanging out with the guys, like
yeah,
what's your fun?
They had pool tables in there. I think we even had cornhole in there. We could play. And sleeping was another thing too. Like a lot of times, there's so many. They didn't show it as much, but like there's so many times where we would like kind of fight for who's going to be on the couch so we could sleep.
So you could take a nap. You're like, hey, it's my turn. Like,
yeah, because you're exhausted. I mean, you're dating all day, and you have night dates that go pretty late. So you're doing stuff all day, every day, and just talking that much. It sounds weird, but like you get exhausted, emotionally exhausted.
No, you do. I mean, I used to teach, so I would talk all day. That's all I did for a living. It was incredibly exhausting. Yeah. So like, no, I get it.
It wears you out. Yeah.
So like, what were y'all's sleeping arrangements like? Because I have no idea. Like, I've never heard anyone talk about it. Do y'all have like bedrooms like in the area? Are they like, I don't know, shuttling you guys to a hotel, or like what's sleeping arrangements like?
They shuttled us to a hotel.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks like we're all just like in bunk beds together.
Yeah, they have like everyone this, like cooking breakfast.
Yeah, like it looks like a big frat house kind of and everything. But no, they shuttled us to hotels.
Okay.
Made it much easier.
That's nice. That makes me like feel better. At least you get like that little reprieve. And like, were you in a room like by yourself, or did you have to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's like.
So, yeah, we had our own room, so it was you at least could like a little bit unwind.
You can like be with your thoughts and like take your time. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like when you first got to the pods and they have like, you see on the show they have all you guys there. Nick and Vanessa are there, and like, oh my gosh, every time I see Nick Lachey, I think about Newlyweds with Jessica Simpson because I used to watch it with my mom when I was little. But you're all there, and then they're like, all right, guys, like, release, and then it shows like everyone's in the hallway, everyone's going into the pods. Like, what is day one like?
Day one's crazy. So Nick and Lachey come in, and even I was like fanboying just a little bit because it's like,
this is Nick. 98 degrees. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Just one night. No.
I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I feel like a celebrity a little bit. But yeah, so the first day was pretty intense. I mean, you start out, and you see everybody. So there's 15 guys, 15 girls, and you go through the whole process. And you date everybody 10 minutes for first dates. Mm-hmm. So you go through and you have 15 dates, 10 minutes each. And the first one was great. I mean, you're excited. You're it's the first one. You're kind of nervous,
but
it's
who, like, your first person was?
Yeah, it was Estefania.
Okay.
Yeah, she was my first one, and she ended up being one of my favorites towards the end. But she like the first date was great, but then by date 12, 13, 14, you're like, I've repeated myself.
Hi, my name is Connor. No.
Yes, you just feel like, okay, let's just get this over with, kind of thing. Which sucks because like there's at the end you feel like you don't give the people at the end more of a genuine chance because you're just so burnt out from the day.
Yeah.
And after that first day, you have to narrow down who you're going to talk to next. So that like the next few days, you start to select who you want to be with and everything, or who you want to continue talking with. And so, yeah, at the beginning, there was sometimes where I wish, maybe I would have liked that person more if I would have talked to her more than 10 minutes.
Right, or been like fresher.
Yeah.
When you were speaking to them.
At the beginning, yeah. So that was that was one of the things that I was like, it would have been nice to talk to some of those people a little bit longer because, 10 minutes you could talk about one thing and then it's like, okay, I've got to go.
What's your favorite color? Where's your family from?
Yeah, and if you don't just hit it off right then that's the first impression you get. It's like, oh, they were okay, then I'll just move on. So I feel like some of those were kind of cut short sometimes.
So when you're like narrowing down your list, I'm like, how does it work? Like, do you narrow down your list and like you give it to the producers and then they kind of like arrange your next set of like dates based off of the list that they received from other people? Or
yeah, it's it kind of feels like Survivor a little bit. Like it actually does. Like you fill out a list of your top choices, and then afterwards you have to be compatible with the other person. And so they have a list and they try to match you up with who your top whatever, and it starts to slowly get whittled down towards the end. And so at the end, if you don't match with somebody, then they try to match you with somebody either that's still there, or they eventually start to take people off because they either don't match with somebody or they can leave if they want. You could always leave if you wanted to.
And we saw that.
Yeah.
You
saw that several times actually. So like they never forced anybody, obviously, but they encouraged people to stay, obviously. But yeah, that was kind of the setup though, was you would choose after each day and hope that you were in.
Right. You were continuing
your significant others. Hopefully you were within their top choices also.
What was like your first impressions of being like in the actual pod area? Like, how did it feel? Were you like claustrophobic, or were you like, oh no, it's comfortable in here? I know you spent a lot of time in the little tiny room. Yeah. So, how was that?
It was good. I really didn't feel that claustrophobic. At first, it was a little surreal to see. You see this on TV and in the pods before, like previous seasons, and then once you're in there, like, oh, this is so cool. Like this, hey, there's the pillows, like, there's the couch, there's the screen, or the wall, so it really didn't feel that claustrophobic. Each room had like a 70s shag carpet in there which was kind of nice. You could lay down and sleep. You could sleep on it if you wanted to.
What season? We saw that with Tiffany last season. She fell asleep and Bro was like, hello? Hello?
Yeah. I feel like that happened all the time. Like we actually, me and Miriam, there was one time where we just slept on a night date. We're like, hey, I'm tired, you're tired, like let's just take a nap. We've been talking for 8 hours,
like we're both tired, we gotta be here. Might as well get some sleep.
So that it definitely, and I know a lot of other people did the same thing.
Okay, so well, this is a good segue into my next question.
I kind of as I was saying, it's like, oh, this is.
Do I need to let you take a sip, get yourself together? So, who would you say while you were in the pods was like your main connection?
So it was definitely Miriam.
Really?
Towards the end, and I mean, we can get to that here in a minute, but like,
I've heard some things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people have been sending me all sorts of stuff recently, but so I mean, my main connections I think were Miriam, Paige was one, Linda was one, and Steph was kind of my top 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end, it ended up just being Miriam. So you end up talking to the final two, 1 or 2 at the end, and so Miriam was the last one that I talked with up until the proposal day and everything.
So we saw Miriam's day 1 with Uche, and I saw it on TV. I watched her response on TikTok. What we saw on TV, I mean, everyone was talking about it. I know you saw it. It was very like, I do this, but I also do this, and it was. And then when I don't know if you saw her TikTok or not that she did, but she kind of explained herself. She's like, this is when I moved to Houston. This is when I was working in the Middle East. These are my degrees. Like and then she said she kind of was like going back and forth because she didn't have her brand all the way together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why she was like, but I just want to hear kind of like from you, like when you asked her like what she did in the pods, like did you get a similar response to what we saw on TV, or did you get like something else?
A little bit. It wasn't nearly as just, I guess, confusing.
Like it's choppy.
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as bad as that. But no, I mean, whenever we talked, like there was sometimes where I was a little bit confused about what she was doing. At least with moving back, and then her, at least her current job. But like we had talked about all that stuff. I knew that she, when she was moving in the Middle East, and she was telling me when she was coming back, and so we had kind of cleared that up. But yeah, we at the beginning, especially, I was even confused. I mean, I had to talk with people and ask them, like, "Hey,
you were like, have you?
What
is she doing?" No.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of that, but I think with the editing, it definitely made it much more ambiguous, I guess, hard to understand. But.
Okay. Well, so do you know like what her brand is now? Like, have you seen it or?
I've seen it. I mean, I know it's like it's a cosmetics brand or something. It's where it's is it just like lotions or
she
something?
She does body butters and like hand creams.
Okay.
Because I went and looked at it.
Okay.
And surprise for you, we're gonna go ahead and try it out.
If you actually got it.
I did. Oh I love to support. Like, I don't know Miriam personally, but I love to support a small business, especially a small Black-owned business. So I did, her company is called Zach and Lucy.
Okay.
And like I said, she sells body butters and hand creams. They're actually pretty affordable.
Okay.
But I got one of the body butters for us to try.
Okay.
And so it comes in here, and it comes with this little the stick that says Zach and Lucy. I guess we'll use the stick. That's more sanitary.
Miriam's going to have to thank you for the free advertising.
Listen, I'm always here to support a small business. I'm not here to be mean to people and like be villainizing people. That's not my shtick.
Yeah.
We're here to be nice. So, okay, that's what it looks like. For anyone who's curious, I didn't show the packaging. This is what it looks like. So we're gonna see. So this is a body butter. Have you ever used a body butter before?
I've not. No.
They're not like lotions. They're more hydrating. Okay. So they're kind of on the oilier side. Okay. So if you put it on and you're like, oh, my hands are like a little greasy, like they're supposed to be a little bit like heavier. I know she said there's like shea butter in this.
Is it like a moisturizer kind of? Or?
Yeah, it's like it's just like a really heavy moisturizer. I think this is the lavender and sandalwood scent. Okay. It smells kind of like a spa.
Smells really good. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, listen, I'm here for a good product. Okay. I'm going to try some. You want to scoop some out? I should take off my wedding ring. I don't want it to get... Oh, that's thick. Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to put that all up my arm. Wow. Wait a minute. Oh, this is actually... Okay, Miriam. Wow. You might have to put that... Like, I might have to put some on my feet. Because it's really... It's very, very hydrating. Wow. wow. It smells like a spa in here.
It smells great, actually.
Let me put some on my feet, because, wow.
You're right, though. I feel like I just got greased up for a...
I think we went too hard. I think we only needed like a little bit, and we did like enough for our full body.
Yeah.
That's our fault. I need to call my husband to bring us a towel. I don't know how we're going to come back from this.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I have very dry skin. So I will definitely be using this. Okay, Miriam, I see you, girl. Zach and Lucy, lavender and sandalwood. Let me go ahead and put this away. But I thought it would be nice for you to, since she has the product together now, and I mean, might as well. But okay. Cool. So we tried it out. Let's go ahead and get back on track. So when you were talking to Miriam in the pods, like, what's one of the things that made you be like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna like keep talking to this girl? Like, what was like her sparkle? Like, what was it about her?
She came off as very intelligent, so I think that was one of the first things that I noticed. I mean, just like what she said, she has a degree from Johns Hopkins, and she was a scientist, and she was a very good speaker. Like, she was very well spoken. I think that was the main thing. At first, I mean, I know it wasn't shown, but like, when I first talked to her, like when I walked out, I was like, wow, that girl was awesome. Like, she was super smart. She was easy to get along with. Just kind of blown away kind of at the beginning. And so, I think that was the main thing was obviously somebody that gets those degrees is a super hard worker and is willing to put in the time to be good at what they do. So I think that was the main thing, at least, especially at the beginning, was, okay, this girl is brilliant.
She does seem super smart.
So that really stood out for me, and made her at least at the top of my list for a long time.
And then, like, what are some of the things that you guys, like, you and Miriam, I know you had like other people that you talked to, but I know you said like you guys like went like, pretty far. Like, I know there's themed days and stuff. Like, what were some of the like the themes and conversations that you were having with these people? Because I know some of them are like, I heard crazy conversations on the show.
Yes, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Like, so they give us the book, and each day it was almost like couples therapy. Like, they had theme days, and I can see my skin like glistening.
I know, we're so like, we look so nice like in the lights.
I know. Yeah, this is great. So that's my train of thought. So we, in the books, we had themes for each day, like you're saying, and I mean, there was stuff from talking about career stuff, talking about families, talking about sex stuff, which was obviously a very awkward day.
That day was crazy. I was like,
yes,
wow.
And they showed some of that stuff, like just all the crazy stuff that people would say from that. They had, talking about planning a future together, talking about past relationships, talking about what do you expect out of a partner, what do you expect out of a marriage and everything. So most of the topics were, it felt like you were in couples therapy, and they even told us that. They said, you're basically going through X amount of hours of couples therapy with this person, and that's how you get so close to them, because you're talking about all these subjects, all these things that you would talk with your person. And it's crazy that I think a lot of people probably, and when people say like, oh, that whole experiment's nuts, like, how could you ever want to get engaged with somebody after this? Because
it seems crazy, like, watching it. Like, when you see people, they're like, I love you, and you're like,
you
already?
Just met them. Like, yeah, you don't love them. Like, but I will say, like, it's when you're talking with somebody about all those things, and you spend so much time with somebody, and you're completely isolated, and it's just them. There's no phones, there's no apps, there's no nothing. It's easy to really like that person, to love that person, and you really want to be with them because you're connecting with them. And so people say it's crazy and everything, but when you're actually in there, it's easy to fall in love with somebody. And so, and I think it's especially the things you talk about. I mean, you're talking about having kids someday. You're talking about what are your lifelong goals? What are things we could do together? And so you're giving each other gifts. So it's just this accelerated process of dating. Mm-hmm. And you're talking with somebody that long, but like, I mean, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you go on dates and you're not talking with somebody for 3 or 4 hours.
You're not. You're like a couple hours. We'll text. See each other next time. Like,
yeah. But when you add it all up, I mean, obviously you date somebody for a year, 2 years, however long, like it's going to be longer. But in the pods, you're talking with somebody for a long, long time, many, many hours. And
like, how many hours on average would you say, like, once you got it kind of like narrowed down to like a few people, like how many hours a day?
I mean, we would talk with, at least 8+ hours.
Just like in the like area with the same person, like
yeah. And so you would do 2, at least when you had it down to 2 different people or one person, you would do 2 4-hour dates typically, and then you could choose if you wanted to do night dating. Most people did, just because they wanted to keep talking. But yeah, I mean, towards the end, 4-hour dates was like.
that's a long time. Like because
yeah.
I think when me and my husband first started dating, like we had like a couple of dates where we like closed out the restaurant, but we weren't typically like on a 4-hour like intense talking, like nothing else,
no distractions,
right?
Yeah. So it makes it's actually very refreshing. Like the whole process is very. I think it's very eye-opening in the fact that, okay, like in the real world, you don't really get this. And so it takes out those distractions of the real world and helps you actually communicate much better with somebody.
So when you want to like give gifts or like, I don't know, let's say you want to do like something fancy for your date. Like, how do you go about doing that?
We could either bring something, we brought personal items to give.
What was your personal item?
One of them I regret, not because it was bad, but it was just like, it was, so I like to rock climb. I like to go climbing as a geologist, of course. And so I brought my chalk bag as like which is so dumb. Like,
I guess it's like the sentiment.
It was supposed to be like, hey, this is really like important to me. And like, so I wanted to give this, but thinking back, I was like,
I would have been caught off guard.
That's so
like, what
cringe.
Is this?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't get it back. She might have thrown it away or something.
Wait, who had it?
Miriam. Yeah.
Oh,
I gave it to Miriam. So she might have.
You need some. Did you get? You have more chalk though now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're good. But that was my favorite chalk bag. So
I'm so sorry.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
What was your other item that you brought?
The other one was actually I had several things. I had 3 things. I brought, which I didn't give this away, but back in 2018, 19, I did, when I was living in Madrid, we did the Running with the Bulls in Pamplona, and we had a scarf that we ran with the Bulls with, and so I brought that as like kind of a personal item.
Did you give that away?
No.
Okay.
So I ended up not giving that. So I was like, yeah, thank God.
It's good you gave the chalk bag. Oh my gosh, I would have been mad if I didn't get that back.
I know. Yeah, I would have been mad too. But the other thing was I brought a big world map, and I put stickers on the map of places that I've been and places that I want to go. And then I gave it to her and had her put stickers of places that she wanted to go. And that was going to be like our travel map of like places we could go do, places we could go see and do.
That's nice.
And everything. So it was like kind of a shared.
That's cute. I like that.
So I thought it was not bad.
That was a cute idea. Yeah. I like that.
Better
like that
than the chalk bag.
I'm just really glad you didn't give away that scarf. Because
I know. Yeah.
I would have been sad.
I know.
For you.
Yeah.
So, I know you guys are in there for 10 days. Is it day 9 is like, I'm trying to think. Day 10 is the reveal. Is day 10,
yes.
Day 10 is the reveal. Day 9 is the engagement. And then all the other days are like dating. So which day did you make it to?
Day 9.
You made it all the way to day 9.
For proposal day, yeah.
And like, So you had you picked out a ring? Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what was that process like?
Nerve-wracking. I don't know. It's hard to even think about it now, but just going through and thinking
you just,
about, okay,
like, lay them out.
Yeah. I mean, they had a ring specialist, and we got to pick out a ring, and I can't remember what. I'm pretty sure I talked with Miriam about like what ring she liked and everything. Maybe I can't remember, but yeah. So they had us select a ring before, and I think that was even the day before proposal day.
Mm-hmm.
Or 1 or 2 days before, but yeah.
I think so. I think it probably was, because I remember when Uche was talking to Aaliyah, like, oh, what ring do you like?
Yeah.
Like, and then, I mean, of course she was gone.
Yeah.
But like, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But
yeah.
And then so you get to day 9. You get to day 9, and it's proposal day, and then like what? Because obviously you're here, like you don't appear to have been be with anyone from the show currently. So like, what went down on proposal day?
So it was a little bit dramatic. I'm not gonna.
Oh no!
Like, it was so. Rewind to the previous day. Like we had talked, Miriam and I, and I was a little bit unsure going into proposal day. And not because I didn't have feelings for her, but getting engaged to somebody that quick, whenever it comes to it, it's a lot, and you get like emotionally, there's so many things going on in your head. I mean, since you can't talk with friends and family, I think it makes it harder because you can't have that. You don't have anyone to bounce off of,
and you're like thinking like logically, like in the real world, like would I be making this decision?
Exactly, and so I didn't sleep that night, honestly, just because couldn't make a decision. I was trying to keep my family in mind because obviously that brings them in the equation. And so the day of, and I know you saw that TikTok of accusing Uche.
So like let's like set that up. So yeah, there was some information going around saying that like Uche was the one who messed up you and Miriam's engagement. Words like sugar daddy were thrown around, and I'm just like, I just don't see Connor and Uche using those words together. That doesn't sound right. So I mean, what really happened? Because I just don't think that's exactly how it went down.
We didn't sugar daddy. I'm not sure how that came out.
I don't know where that came from.
Basically, with that whole situation, it's partially true. Like the video is partially true, just because,
but not entirely.
Not entirely, because, and I've talked to Uche about this before. Like, I did talk to Uche. Mm-hmm. I did talk to him that morning. It was actually off camera, so it wasn't recorded or anything. But when we first got into the pods the morning of proposal day, like I said, I was on the fence about stuff already. Like, I was already super nervous, wasn't sure what to do, which is not what you want to be when you're thinking about proposing to somebody. Like, you want to be sure, you want to be, you should be 100% on that.
And like, what were some of your like reservations that you had? Like, some of the things that made you be like, I don't know. I'm like, not for sure.
I mean, there was, I just kind of felt like there was some stuff that felt forced, like with our conversations. We got along really well. We asked the right questions. We, made each other laugh. Everything felt smooth, but there was sometimes where it just, we were just kind of going through the motions, I guess. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I felt like it almost felt like, in a way, like towards the end, like I really enjoyed being with her, but I didn't feel like that spark that you should feel with somebody.
Like, you didn't feel like, okay, like I know I'm 100% sure that I want to like settle down and spend the rest of my life with this person.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, it had nothing to do with her. It was nothing that I was like, oh, like it wasn't like a red flag or anything. It was more of,
like, you wanted to be 100% sure on your decision. You
yeah.
didn't want to be like engaged and on the fence.
Yeah. It just didn't make sense to me. And like, I even told a lot of my friends and family before I went on the show, I was like, for me to get engaged, I want to be for sure.
Like 100% head over heels. Like, can't live without this person.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to do it just to get famous. I mean, sure, all that's fun. It's the attention and everything that goes with it. But like, that was,
and we're not saying like anyone like, you know, went out and like was out seeking fame or anything.
No, like, definitely not. Like, I think the people that did get engaged and everything were genuine. But for me, that's just, I didn't, what I felt and what I felt with that relationship was, I felt like I would have been doing it for the wrong reason. And so that was the main thing. And also, I mean, I had talked with Uche, and one of the things I wanted to ask Uche is that he had talked with her the most besides me.
So she was one of his other like connections besides Aaliyah.
Yes. They had talked earlier on, but he had talked with her the most, and there was some things that I wasn't sure about, and really I just wanted to hear his opinion. I just wanted to hear what he thought about her.
Just like kind of like talking to a friend, just you know,
because like I said, him and I were friends, and so I just wanted another opinion, another viewpoint, and we talked about kind of what she had told him, and you know, he had told me the same thing. He was in, you know, kind of what they showed with that interaction with him and her with the confusing job thing. There was some things that I was a little bit fuzzy about with her. And I think a combination of that and also just not being sure, I just, I kind of got cold feet a little bit. And it sucks to say that, because I'm going in, I really wanted that to work out with somebody. I thought it almost felt like a fate thing. You go on one of those shows, and like, especially when somebody reaches out to you, it's like, this almost feels like it's like meant to be.
Is this how I'm supposed to meet my person?
Am I going to meet my wife like this? Yeah.
Right.
It just felt like that. And so, and that almost pushes you to get engaged with somebody too. Like, you almost feel like, I should do this because it's a once in a lifetime thing. I can move on to the next stage, you know, all these things that kind of influence you to want to do that. And so it was tough. Like I said, I was so beat up after I had to wait all day before I went in the pods with her for proposal day.
So you were just sitting, like thinking, like, what do I do?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I was sitting on the couch, just staring at the ceiling for hours, going back and forth. Should I do this? Should I not? You know, just weighing all the options, and that probably had something to do with it too. Me just getting in my own head, just sitting there by yourself for hours.
And just thinking, like, no one to talk to, and then you start getting real logical. You're like, okay, like, do I need to do this? Or maybe you're thinking, like, maybe if we don't get engaged, like, maybe we can date later and, like, you know, try to do things the more typical way. And
it just seemed like, once I thought about it more and more, it just felt like it was something that I wasn't 100% sure and if I wanted to do it. And so eventually I was just like, you know, I shouldn't do it if I don't feel that way. So, I mean, I kind of feel like in the pods, like we went into the pods, I told her that. It was not a great reaction from her.
She didn't take it well.
No, it was.
Well, I mean, I guess because maybe like the day before, like y'all had like talked about like rings and stuff, and then I feel like the whole situation's very confusing for like everybody involved. Because if you do make it to the engagement day, then you've talked about rings, but it's like also like you're like, I want to be sure, like I don't want to just jump into this big decision. And like, what was kind of her reaction like when you kind of were like, hey, like I basically like, if it's not 100%, like, I don't want to, have to put us through this.
Yeah, I mean, she started crying, and it was, I felt horrible. Like, I was just telling her, I'm sorry. I just don't feel like this is the right thing, and I don't want to go through with it. And she was wanting me to reconsider, and I just said, I can't. I kind of made up my mind, which was tough to say, and but yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I remember the interview after with our producer, and she could tell I was like pretty upset, and I told her why. I told her the same thing I told you, and just said, I talked with Uche. I talked with, I just kind of thought about it, and I just didn't think it was the right thing. And
so you told her, like, you talked with Uche.
I told her so, and I don't know if that would have been how somebody else found out, or I don't think so.
I mean, I don't know where
but
the tea came from.
I don't know. But I remember saying, I talked with Uche this morning, and he had confirmed some things in terms of just things that I was confused about. Random things, like I wasn't sure if she had a boyfriend before, or she didn't have one during, but I wasn't sure.
Well, obviously, that would be super sketchy.
Yeah, but small stuff like that, where I was like, okay, I'm not 100% sure what she's, some of the past stuff.
And it's very hard to get like a vibe from somebody through a wall. Like, you don't have like facial expressions. Like, I know I watched Uche did really an interview recently with Rachel Yucatan. I watched it last night, and I know he was saying like so much of like communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
And like, so you can't see people's faces, you can't see their mannerisms, and it's just it's hard to convey everything through a wall.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's hard to express yourself. It's hard to express your personality. Like, for me, I had a hard time with that too. Just, it's when you're just talking, you can't really see how they react to your whatever you say or do, and it's a huge part of communication, and it makes it tough.
So, okay, that makes what happened at the barbecue make a lot more sense, because like, for us, like the viewer, like, we're not seeing any of the interactions between Miriam and Uche other than that first clip where Miriam was talking about what she does for a living.
Yeah.
So then we get to the barbecue, and we're like, why is this girl blowing up on it? Like, the way that Uche is portrayed, like, he's portrayed as being problematic. I'm not saying that he is. I have my own like thoughts and opinions on Uche, but that's the way he's being portrayed. And so we're wondering, like, well, they haven't even had that much interaction. What's going on? Why is she so mad?
Yeah.
So, like, can you elaborate on that for us, like, a little bit? Like, what may have happened that we didn't see at the barbecue that led her to having that big blow up with Uche?
I think something, either, I don't know how somebody found out, but I think somebody told her that was a reason, or that was, like, he was the main reason, which he wasn't the main reason.
That's not right. You were just talking to him as a friend, and
and I went out to him, and that was one thing that, it wasn't like he was like, hey, Connor, I got to warn you about Miriam, like, don't do this. Like, it wasn't like that. It was
not like Milton with Lydia.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. No, it wasn't the same thing. It was me, like, going to him and asking, hey, what do you think about this? And so, and he gave me his honest opinion. But I guess from somehow it leaked out, or somehow somebody told her that was the main reason. And I guess she had talked with, I'm just speculating, but like, she had talked with producers and told them that, and said, like, hey, this is the reason why Connor didn't ask me to get engaged. And I guess it just kind of spiraled from there. It seems like, and so, yeah, I think that was a big reason why she was so angry at the barbecue was
because it's like by the time we got to that point and everybody's all engaged and sitting there, and she's like in her mind, she's thinking like, the reason I didn't get engaged is because Uche's been in Connor's ear, like talking to him, like telling him like all this and that. Yeah. But like, you're like, that really wasn't the case. Like, you had your own ideas and own opinions, and you just kind of needed like someone to talk to. Yeah. And just kind of like mentioned his name in the pods when you were explaining your rationale. Yeah.
In the end, it was, exactly what you're saying. Like, I mentioned the producer. I was like, I think, I talked with Uche, and I just didn't think it was the right thing to do. And I think that Miriam was the right girl for me in the pods, but I didn't think that she was the right girl for me for marriage. Mm-hmm. And so, and that was the biggest thing for me was, there's millions of other girls out there. I don't have to pick one of 15 if it's not the right thing to do.
Like today.
Yeah. Like, this isn't like here all end all, and I have to get married on this show.
Right. No, I get that.
If it's not right, it's not right. And so that's kind of how I felt. But I definitely think she was the right person for me in the pods. It just, in the end, it wasn't something that I felt like was something I wanted to go long term.
No, I definitely get that, especially with this process being like as fast paced as it is. Yeah. Like, you're not seeing the person, you're not seeing their nonverbal cues. Like, you just, I see how you could be feeling like, I need more time. Like, which is, I mean, I think that's everyone's like natural thing that they would be thinking is, you need more time, not necessarily like the I love yous. And of course I want to get married after 10 days and, you know, all of that stuff. Yeah. So, okay. Well, we're going to move into talking about some of the other cast members.
Okay.
So I want to go ahead and I'm just going to go through some of the people that we really saw like more of on the show, the faces that popped up, more than others. And I just want you to kind of tell me like, what's a word that comes to mind? Like one word that comes to mind when you hear this person's name. And I don't know if you've met everyone. So if you've never met them, or maybe you're just going based off of what you saw on the show, I mean.
I've met almost all of them. There's a few, like I've never met Stacy. I never met Renee. I talked to them, but I never met them after the show. And there's a few other girls I think I never met with a few of the other girls, but I know all the guys, obviously. And then
right. Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. Okay, so Uche, what would be a word that comes to mind when you hear Uche?
Uche.
I mean, because y'all are friends.
And like, it's hard to say bad thing. And like I said, I've never had a bad interaction with him. But I don't know how he is with women.
Right.
And so it's hard for me to give that other side of things.
How he is like a guy friend.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And for that, he's great. He's a good guy. He's I don't know.
I mean,
nobody's perfect.
I like Uche. Like, I think that he's probably a nice person. I think he's very blunt. And
yeah.
I was talking with someone about this earlier, but I feel like he's one of those people that's like, he says the thing that comes first to your mind that you're like not supposed to say out loud, but he says it out loud.
Yeah.
Like in episode 1 when he was talking to Aaliyah and he was like, oh, so you're a recent cheater. And I was like, that's something you would think in your head and like not immediately say it out loud, but like he says it out loud. Like I always say, I'm like, his words that I hear him saying they're the right words, but his tone is not great. The delivery is not great. And I'm like, the message was there, but the delivery is really, really hard for people.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. It was, I see how it comes off as, I mean, some people, like when people are that straightforward and just like they say what they think, sometimes a lot of people don't take that well.
Because I'm a very blunt person. Like I try to be nice. I be trying to work on it, but not everyone takes it well. Okay, next up we have Lydia.
I would say kind of bubbly, I guess is the first thing I think of, is like she's energetic. Like when she was date number 15 for me.
Oh, so you got pepped back up.
Yeah. So, and everybody was like, "Oh, have you met the geologist? Have you talked to the other geologist?" And that was kind of a big thing. And like, I was kind of disappointed that she was date number 15, like, because at the end you're like, I'm done. Like, this is, but no, I mean, she's just very peppy, very energetic, just fun, I think, in general. I think she kind of comes off as that. I mean, she comes off as a little bit in your face on the show.
Yeah, she's very loud, like
kind of controlling Milton a little bit.
I'm not going to do my impression. I'm not going to do her like that. I'm not going to do her like that.
Yeah, but she's, I don't know. I think she comes off as a little, and again, I don't know her that well because I had seen her after the show one time, and then just talked to her for those 10, 15 minutes at the beginning. I only talked to her one time.
Really?
We just had one date. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like a part of it was just because we were date number 15.
Yeah, and then you guys were like both tired and stuff. I mean, like if I didn't know what I know about the whole Uche and Aaliyah situation, I'd be like, oh yeah, like this girl is cool. But then I have like all of that stuff in the back of my head, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is Aaliyah.
See, I didn't know. I only talked to Aaliyah once also.
During like the first day.
Yeah. I only talked to her once. But she seemed very mature. Whenever I did talk to her, she seemed very mature. She seemed very, I think her family was in the military and everything. And I could kind of sense that maturity coming from that a little bit. So I thought she was really easy to talk with and very easygoing, has a nice voice. That was one thing too, like you judge people off their voices a little
That's
bit.
what I heard, like some people talking about, like, oh my gosh, your voice. Yeah. Like my voice, like it can be kind of monotone or like kind of boring. I don't, however you want to put it. So, and even after I had girls say, yeah, we thought like your voice is kind of boring, so that's why. Dang, that's so
like,
harsh.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like everybody has like those small things.
Yeah.
That each person in the pods, like we all had something that was like, oh, did you hear this about so and so, or like so and so sounded weird, or so and so sounded super drunk during the show.
Not super drunk. See, that's because they were giving out all that unlimited alcohol.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I would say like mature. Which I don't know if that's a great word to give.
I know a lot of people who know Aaliyah.
Really?
Like a lot of people, yeah. So, I mean, I've heard like that she's nice. I don't know her, but I know a lot of people who do know her. Yeah. JP.
America. No,
for real, like
yeah, just like good all-American boy,
Captain America.
Captain America, exactly.
When he had that little flag folded up next to him, like on the seat, I was just like, no, this man is not walking around with this American flag. And I mean, I love America. Like, I have a whole bunch of family members in the military, but he is on
another level,
like a different level. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the dude is patriotic, that's for sure.
Oh. All right. What about Taylor?
Taylor, let's see. Taylor was, what's one word for Taylor? I think probably somebody that you'd want. Well, it's not one word.
It's okay. We're not even following the rules anymore.
I know,
it's fine.
It's whatever. She seemed like she'd just be a good friend. I don't know. I guess friend would be like somebody that, and me and her talked several times, but like she just seemed like somebody you just want to go get a drink with. And just talk with. I mean, we got along, but I think midway through, I think we both kind of weeded each other out. But yeah, she just seemed very easygoing as well. Like we had a lot in common too. Like she went to A&M and she's a teacher too.
I was like that calm teacher personality.
Yeah,
I saw her doing her like teacher work on JP.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a teacher right there.
Like one word would probably be like empathetic. Somebody that's able, very caring, and you could kind of see that from the teacher perspective. how she kind of handled herself.
Mm-hmm. That's a very teachery thing. It was like she was, they call it when you de-escalate a student.
Okay.
Like when you have a kid that's like lost it, and you're like, okay, well let's regroup, please. No.
Yeah. I definitely got that from
her. What about Stacy? Just like, I guess from what you like knew in the pods.
Stacy, I didn't talk to Stacy very much either. How would I describe Stacy?
Stacy seems very blunt as well.
I didn't remember in our conversations her being like that, but from the show, she seems a little bit blunt as well, mm-hmm. but it just speaks her mind. She seemed flirty, mm-hmm. And not in a bad way, but like...
you're supposed to. It's a dating show.
Yeah. She seemed very flirty, and I can see why a couple of guys really liked her, just because she was... The people she was very into, mm-hmm. I guess, the flirty is the best word for her on that front.
Okay, Izzy.
Mm-hmm. Very much a ladies' man. He's...
I know some people who know him, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They said he's nice.
Yeah, he's... Again, I've never had a bad experience with Izzy either.
He always looked like he had like just taken his pre-workout though, and he was like ready to go do
jacked,
something.
He's ready to go. Yeah, he's. I would definitely say ladies' man would be what I think of, because all the girls said Izzy. Like he was the number one.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think it's because he just had like a lot of charisma.
Yeah,
and like they like that.
Same thing, and he's flirty too. Like he's good in those situations. And I think that's why him and Stacy got along so well. They get along so well. It's just because they kind of have that sort of personality of happy-go-lucky, mm-hmm. And thinking on the bright side of stuff a lot of times.
What about Johnny?
Johnny's another one that I think got a bad edit, obviously.
I have more to say like in a little bit, like after we go through like initial like impressions of everyone, but
yeah,
I do feel like she kind of got a bad edit.
I think, yeah, and so Chris is one of my good friends from the show too, and so I kind of got a lot of information from him at least along the way, and Johnny is also somebody that's much more caring than I think that she was portrayed as. Like, mm-hmm. like I would have never thought she was painted as the villain.
She was the way she was portrayed was very like needy, kind of like
wishy-washy.
Yeah, wishy-washy, kind of like I just want a man.
Yeah, I just want to move on to the next.
Right, like it didn't work with Izzy, and then she jumped to Chris, and it was kind of, I don't know.
And we knew, like, in the process that was going to be like a feature thing, because mm-hmm. Chris comes into the guys' lounge, he's crying, he's all this back and forth between him and Izzy, because we were all sitting at the table and this was happening. Mm-hmm. And we were taking bets on how many times Chris was going to cry during the show.
Oh, no.
Because he was always...
Oh, poor Chris. Poor Chris.
Yeah,
Aww.
He's a crier, but you love the guy. He's a good dude. So, but yeah, Johnny, I honestly think, I keep saying everybody's great. Everybody's...
but you had good experiences.
Yeah, I never had anybody that was like, at least in the show, like the interaction with Stacy and Johnny or something, like where they mm-hmm. were like really butting heads. I never had that, so it's hard for me to talk bad on people.
That was crazy. So during the show, there were like 3 official couples that we saw that got engaged. Now we've heard on like TikTok and stuff that there were like more. I'm not gonna get into that because that's like, I don't know. That's not why we're here today. So
yeah.
I want to go over like your thoughts and opinions of some of the couples and just some of the things that went down like while those couples were getting together.
Okay.
So Lydia and Milton. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. It was so messy. And like when you hear all the stuff that happened behind the scenes, like it makes it worse. Like, because, and then when you hear, so Lydia and Milton ended up getting engaged. They had their connection. Yeah. But then we find out at some point that Lydia and Uche used to date. And Uche does not have the greatest things to say about Lydia because of how it's believed that she got on the show. Now, I mean, I don't have any proof. You don't have any proof. This is all speculation alleged coming from the people who've been talking about it. But I don't know. I mean, you were there. You knew Milton. I actually really like Milton. I think I forgot to add his name to the list of people. I don't know why. But like the people I wanted to know your thoughts on. Because I really liked Milton. Milton, I think, is one of my favorite people on the show this season.
Milton's hilarious. Like he was another person that I hung out with in the pods a lot, and just because of the geology part. Mm-hmm. And so like
he loves rocks for real.
He should be geologist. Like
I'm like, how are you not a geologist? How are you an engineer? Like
he's obsessed with that stuff, and like they showed a little bit of it, but us trying to identify that rock was pretty funny. It was kind of embarrassing too because I think we said the wrong thing, but
it's okay. You didn't have all your proper tools. You can.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Milton is hilarious. It's funny. It's really funny to see like how he was with the guys versus how he was in the pods and on the show. Mm-hmm. He's much more serious with Lydia in the pods than he was with the guys.
Yeah, well, it's like, because it's like bro time.
Yeah, like, which makes sense. And you kind of saw like his personality come out a little bit.
He did. He seemed like he was funny.
Yeah, I mean, he was like the jokester of the crew, like just saying the most outrageous stuff.
Was he the youngest guy there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, him and Enoch, I think, were the youngest ones.
And I love Milton's, like, his thinking process. Like, he's very logical, very analytical, and I just feel like that makes for, like, really good decision making. And I mean, honestly, by the time him and Lydia met out of the pods, I was surprised. They had, like, the best chemistry out of all the couples that we saw that did the reveal, which it surprised me, because I guess because we had known all the things that we had known already about Lydia, and so that, like, you know, came as a surprise.
Shocking. Yeah. I was surprised too. I mean, even in the pod, so at the very beginning, just because of the way Milton acted around the guys, I did not expect him to go. I mean, I won't give spoilers or anything, but I didn't expect. I honestly. Well,
you know, I already saw the.
You did? Okay.
I watched it today.
Okay.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. So it's. I mean, I didn't expect them to get married. Mm-hmm. It was
that surprised me too.
I didn't even expect him to get engaged.
I was really surprised. I'm like, and I wonder, like, I wish he would like explain his full thought process, because I know he was doing a lot of like calculations and super in-depth thinking, and I just want to know what went through his head.
Yeah. It's so when I was talking earlier about meeting up with Lydia, I met up with them after they had gotten married, and hung out with them and everything. And
how was that? Like, how were they?
They were good. I mean, they got along really well. I mean, they seemed like a good couple after, and at least when I talked with them and everything, I haven't talked to them since. I've talked with Milton, but I haven't talked with Lydia and seeing how everything happened or worked out. But yeah, it was I mean, it was just really surprising for me to see it go to that stage. Not because I didn't think they were a good couple, but seeing Milton at the beginning was, I just didn't think that was going to happen.
Like friend Milton versus husband Milton.
But then you see how he's so much more mature with Lydia and completely different. Not completely different, but like
he still joked, but
he still jokes and everything. But he's he took it much more seriously than I initially expected, which is good. I mean, that's how you should and should handle everything.
So Lydia and Milton ultimately they ended up getting married, and they were together throughout the show. But I know Uche and Aaliyah, they were going to get engaged, but then Aaliyah left after the stuff with Lydia was revealed. And I know, like, it was said, one of the producers came out and said, like, we told them not to share about that. And, like, once they found out, like, we just told them to wait, like, don't tell anybody. And so I don't know if you guys were all together when Uche, like, did Uche and Milton ever talk about, like, that Uche used to date Lydia?
Yeah, they did in the pods, actually. And so I don't remember what day it was, but yeah, so they, I guess Uche and them had said stuff, and I don't know if Uche came back and told somebody else or who told who, but word spread really quickly, and Uche and Milton actually sat down, like, in the corner and talked about stuff, and I guess they hashed it out, at least for a little while, or talked about it there in the pods. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty surprising. Nobody really expected that,
right? Because that's never happened before.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Did Uche, like, tell you guys, like, his thoughts, like, right away, or did he, like, hold off on that?
He kind of held off. I don't remember how he ended up telling people, or if it was just who he told first, but then it just kind of it spread around. But he didn't really explain it to anybody but Milton. We just kind of heard through word of mouth that,
like, about the following on Instagram and the stories and
no, and I didn't know. So, what stories was he posting? Was he?
I don't know. He said that like, his friends were texting him and being like, "Hey, there's this girl watching my stories. Her name's Lydia.
Okay, yeah.
Like, do you know her?" And then yesterday, when I was watching his interview that he did with Rachel Yucatel, he was saying that allegedly, because I'm just going off of what Uche has said, that she was looking at his followers list and kind of keeping tabs. I'm not saying any of this happened. I'm just spreading what he said. And so she noticed he was following someone new, and she looked. It was the Love is Blind producer. Word on the street is she reached out to her, and then blocked Uche so that it would look like they didn't know each other. And that's what Uche is alleging happened.
Okay.
So
I honestly have no idea.
It's a very elaborate.
It does sound
type situation.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, it could have happened. It sounds. I thought it was a little bit when I heard that nobody knew that, like, they didn't know that each other. Well, when I heard the producers didn't know, I thought that was a little bit strange.
Right, like,
because
how do you not know?
Because, like I said, like, we go through a huge vetting process. Like, they check all our social medias. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything you have. They put you through all these tests and everything, interview you. So, like, I kind of have a hard time believing that they didn't know. But maybe they didn't.
They say that they didn't, so...
Yeah, you have to believe what they say, but it's like, how did that get missed?
I don't know. That's a pretty big one, and I don't know. Uche threw out some pretty hefty allegations. So, okay, what about like Izzy and Stacy? Just from what you've seen, like, I thought Izzy was really nice, like, up until the point where they had the barbecue. I thought the same thing about him and Stacy. I was fine with Izzy. I liked Stacy, but then they had the barbecue, and I was like, ugh.
Tough to watch a little bit.
Yeah, it was going fine until they both started talking to Johnny, and, like, I kind of got where Stacy was coming from, where she was like, Johnny was talking badly about me, like, once Izzy broke up with her and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm not the type of person that's going to, like, go out of my way to, like, be mean. Like, I don't know. I might talk about you, like, to my mom, like, when I go home. But, like, I'm probably not going to be mean to your face because, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. I don't know if you've seen the clip going around where, what was it? Uche was telling everyone all the stuff about Lydia. And then Johnny was like, and Stacy was like, what's wrong with your face?
Oh yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, but you're like, okay.
And she was like, "What are you? I'm having a natural reaction." She's like, "What's wrong with your face?" And I was like, "Dang, Stacy."
Yeah, it's pretty savage. Like, man, no, it's. I think with Izzy and Stacy, I mean, I remember, even in his interview with, was it the Nick Vial?
Yeah, he was talking
podcast,
about like
I
super
regret
drunk
saying that was like one of the things that he wishes he could take back.
Yeah,
which I totally get it. It's
he looked super drunk too. He was like he said he was pretty.
He was on the
right
side of a good time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he would agree that probably shouldn't have handled it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, he said he's apologized and everything. It's just in the moment, like watching it on the screen, you're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah.
It was tough to watch.
So with Izzy and Stacy, like, how did you feel like looking back? Like, do you remember when Johnny was like, oh, like she's kind of talking bad about Stacy, but she's like, Izzy has bad credit and blah blah blah, but then we find out like later that Izzy didn't tell Stacy about his credit until like a couple of days before they got married. Like, what was your like thoughts and reaction to that?
I mean, I feel like that's a huge part of a relationship, and not that. I mean, it shouldn't be the first thing, but it's something that needs to be talked about early.
You know, love likes to fly first class.
Love likes to fly first class.
So
yeah, it's which. I mean, people don't like to talk about it, but that really does matter. I mean, it matters if there's somebody has debt, or if there's they're just not good with finance or whatever. I mean, a lot of marriages fail because of that. So it's something that should be talked about.
Because love just like isn't enough. Like people are like, love should be enough, and I'm like, but it's not.
No.
Like you need other things. Like with your love, you want to fly first class. Yeah. I don't know. Be comfortable, be secure, know that you're going to be able to, buy a house and get a car and not have to worry about, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you want to feel secure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's something that's super important. I feel like that probably wasn't the best move to wait that long to tell somebody about.
Because I would have been freaking out.
I'm surprised that she didn't ask, or it didn't get brought up sooner.
Well, I think it did, but he like was kind of like evading the question, like, okay, because she said they had like gone to get gas, and she's like, oh, like give me your card, and he's like, oh, like I don't have a card or whatever, and she's like, why? And he's like, oh, like I just don't have one, and he's like, well, I wanted to like have like a proper sit down conversation, but you gotta make room, make time. Like I would have talked about that in the pods.
Yeah, I feel like that's like. I know a lot of us talked about finance stuff in the pods.
Mm-hmm. Like I heard they had like a finance, like a day where it was like suggested.
Yeah, there was a theme of like finances, like talking about how are you with finances? How are you with money and spending? Yeah, there was a full day for that. So like, I'm surprised that it didn't get revealed. I guess.
And I knew like from the beginning, like Stacy had on those $600 Golden Goose shoes, and I was like, oh, sis likes money. I hope they've talked about that, because love likes to fly first class. Love likes to fly first class.
Don't we all? Yeah.
So don't we all? I've only flown first class once, but I was like, oh, this is kind of cute. Nice. I like this. Yeah. So next we have Taylor and JP, which, oh my gosh, like. And, like, everything I hear about JP is, like, he's this nice guy. And, like, nobody really has bad things to say about him. But then he came out the gate and was telling Taylor, he's like, I didn't like that you wore makeup. I like you without makeup. You should never wear makeup again. It was so aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, so from the beginning, Taylor and JP were the ones that, like, said, we're getting married. Like, they were the first ones, like, on day 2 or 3.
They were like, that's it.
They were just like, we found it, we're good, let's get married, and that's that. And so everybody they were kind of the classic stereotypical couple, like firefighter and teacher, just that kind of. We all just thought, okay, they're for sure, like they're going to get engaged, probably going to get married, have 6 kids, just
right. Like, and no, they seem like came
family.
Off like that. They seem like a really good match.
Yeah, they really did. And I think it was surprising for me to hear that they didn't make it past Mexico. And yeah, some of it was hard to watch. Yeah. And I just didn't, I guess I just didn't really understand the dynamic between them. I don't know if it's just because, or I wasn't sure why he was being so quiet, and then because he wasn't like that around. Mm-hmm. He wasn't around like that around us.
Quit talking.
That was the main thing. It was just like he shut down.
It's like if I asked you, "How's your day?" Good.
Yeah.
Then that's it.
Yeah.
No more.
So I wasn't sure what happened there. Again, like he was never like that in the pods. And I think, I mean, even they said, like, yeah, the pods were great. Like, they communicated well. And it's like, once they saw each other.
He's like, I just didn't like, he's like, I felt like you were fake. And I'm like, JP, just stop. Like, what?
And yeah, and I don't want to speculate either, but like, I don't know if it was like a physical thing, like he just wasn't into her, or.
And like, maybe, like, if that was his, like, excuse, like, it was the makeup, or.
Yeah.
I don't, but it just came off so bad. And then she tried to, like, teacher him. De-escalate, like, let's look at the situation, you need to calm down, like, quite literally talking to him like a disgruntled student. Well, I'm gonna go sleep in another room tonight, okay, you're gonna be okay here, like.
Yeah, well, and then they had like they had their talk, I guess, fix things, mm-hmm. like, I guess right before they ended, so I guess they didn't fix it, but like, they were like, oh, we should have had this conversation earlier, mm-hmm. a couple days before. But, I mean, when you go days with just no communication.
What do you want for dinner?
Cool.
Food.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Like, just completely disengaged.
You're like, like what's up?
Yeah, like, what's going on here? And so, I don't know. It's hard to know, but I thought the whole thing was really strange.
I did too. I'm glad she left, though. I'm glad she was like, let me not see how this plays out and continue on. Like, after she was disrespected, she was like, yeah, they ended on good terms. They gave each other a hug. And then she's, I'm moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that was everyone who got engaged. I'll ask you quickly, though, about Johnny and Chris, because I know at the barbecue they mentioned they, like, met each other at the airport. And then they ended up, like, like, getting together. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I was happy for him. He was super devastated whenever.
He seemed like he was really, like, down and out.
Like, yes, like, just completely, just like a puppy that's, a crying puppy kind of. It's like, just like,
poor Chris.
And it's just because he cares so much, and like mm-hmm. he's like that with friends and everything like that.
He has a very sensitive personality.
Yeah, and that's why he's a likable guy, is because that's just who he is. But no, when he told me that they were together, at first I was like, okay, Chris. Like,
Chris, do you remember?
Didn't waste any time. Like, it was like less than 24 hours. Like, hey,
he's like, I saw her at the airport.
And that was it.
Saw what I needed to see. No.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, come on. Like, but he, and I can't give any spoilers or anything. So
we don't want you to overshare. We'll just wait and see what happens.
We'll see in the reunion for stuff and everything, but I think they're great together, and so they I think Johnny really redeemed herself. Like, after, mm-hmm. the whole triangle thing was like, that looked bad, but then coming back, and I think you could tell that she was really remorseful, mm-hmm. and like really wanted to make things up with him. So it was,
especially after like things like that happened last season with like Bliss and Zach, I feel like, I don't know, we don't have to hold on to stuff. Like, this is real life. Like, it's not just like, it is entertaining, but it's like, it's also people's real lives.
Beings.
Right.
Yeah. Like, we're not just like puppets that go on the show and then it's over. Like, we have lives.
That's why I'm like, I don't really want to like bash anyone, because I'm like, these are real people. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna like talk trash about like people that literally are like down the road. Like,
yeah, literally. Yeah. So it's, Chris and Johnny, I think, are great together, and it'll be interesting to see how the reunion goes. But yeah, I think I do think Chris made the right decision in the time, like
not to go forward with the
not to do the engagement there. And I think it worked out for the both of them afterwards too.
So do you feel like Love is Blind like changed your perspective on like dating or anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, I for sure it made me a much better communicator. Like obviously you're not gonna like, hey, do you want kids on the first date? Like it's you're not gonna.
I don't know. Me and my husband did that.
You can. I mean, it's it depends on the person, but yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you get right to the right questions, I guess. Just you figure out kind of what you're looking for a little bit more. Just from I can now say I dated 15 girls at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Okay. All right.
Just kidding.
No, we know you're not out. I got hoes. No.
Yeah.
In the same area. No. We know that's not you.
That's and that's why that's for sure not me. But it is kind of funny to joke about. But no, it's yes. I the whole experience was positive overall. Like I would for sure do it again. For anything, just for the people that we met.
So you weren't traumatized. You would do it again.
I mean,
I'm not saying you like, but like if it was presented to you and like you're like, oh, okay, it wouldn't like hurt my spirit.
No. I mean, it was right after. It was almost like, okay, I'm done with dating for like a while.
I'm tired.
Like this, I dated enough for like months after this. Like this is.
I need a break.
You
had to make up for those 15 people.
Yeah,
you needed some time.
I needed some time. Yeah. Just compressed all my dating for the next 6 months. But yeah, it was a lot to take in, but I don't regret it. Like it was a blast. You get to feel like, that feeling of kind of being treated as a movie star was fun. It was, and then just overall, I think, putting yourself out there, I think it's, especially the people that got engaged, like, props to them, because I think people watching the show, they don't realize how it sounds like it's easy, and people are like, oh, they did it for the, some people they weren't genuine, or maybe they
did it for clout,
but that's a lot harder than you think, like, because
you have to make sure that you're not edited incorrect, like a certain way, because you could go on for clout and then you'd be like, ooh, wait, no.
And I'm not defending people that in the past or whatever have done that, but like done that for the wrong reasons. But like, I also feel like it takes a lot of, I guess, bravery, or it's very hard to put yourself out there like that on national television. It kind of puts things in perspective in a way of, okay, I didn't go through with that, but like you respect the people that did, because I mean it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. Like, I think if I was single now, I would probably do it. Like, and then I asked my husband, he's like, I would do it, but I would want to like stir up mess, and I'm like, no, like that's not what you're supposed to do. And he's like, I would like just mess everything up, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'm like, I think I would. I'd be like, oh, well, I'd be like, well, I don't have anyone. Like, what could it hurt? Yeah. I mean, but then you go on and like you're thinking like your mom. You're like, oh my gosh, what if they misedit my child, and then he's like outcast from the world? And...
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole situation. I think it's super unique, but yeah, it's something that's like once you get on the show, once it's real, it's a lot harder to be like, yes, I'm going to get married, and that's I mean, this is going to be easy. It gets a lot more real once you're there. But I mean, I really thought I was, up until the last day, I was like, I think I can do this, and then it got to the point where
you had the time to think, and you were like, I don't know, that's a really big decision.
Yeah. Basically.
And then from then on, everyone you date, you'd have to be like, well, I've been engaged before. Yeah. I've also been on a reality show.
Yeah, it's a great starter point.
Like, and they're like, what? What do you mean you were engaged before and on a reality show?
Yeah.
So, no, I get it. But we're going to go ahead and move into some fan questions.
Okay.
So during your time, like, being with the guys, did you see any of the guys get, like, into any arguments, or you seem very chill? I don't see you getting in any, like, heated arguments with the guys. Unless, I don't know, you might have a side to you, Connor.
Yeah, you never know. That was edited out, I guess.
Did you, like, see anything like that, or was everyone pretty, like, chill?
Everybody was pretty chill. I mean, there wasn't any fights. There was tension between some, but nothing that was like, oh, they're like getting in each other's face. But I know there was like tension between any of the guys that were, say, sharing or had the same number. They were like dating, or like something. Same person. Yeah. It was and it was there was always some like weird tension there, and sometimes awkward, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I never really had that towards the end. I mean, the only one that I was talking with at the end was Miriam and Paige, and Paige was talking to Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she told me, she was like, hey, I'm having feelings for Josh, and like I feel like that's something I want to go with, and I was a little bit bummed about that because
mm-hmm.
I liked Paige a lot, but at the same time it was kind of nice just because it was like, okay, somebody made this decision for me. Like
you're like, okay, my list is narrowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, didn't have to be me.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be like the bad guy.
Exactly, yeah. And so it kind of, in a way, it was a little bit relieving, but at the same time, yeah. But Paige and Josh were great. They were a really good couple, and good for each other, so it worked out.
You already said, so somebody asked, would you do it again? You already said that you would do it again. Somebody asked, do you feel like most of the events were what really happened? Like, from what you saw, like, did you feel like there were people behind the scenes, like, feeding people things to say, or do you feel like no, that's pretty much what happened?
I don't know about like the later stuff.
From like what you saw.
From what I saw, like in the pods, it definitely felt. I didn't feel like they were feeding us stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if like with the Uche, Aaliyah, or Lydia, if there was some sort of push in a certain direction, but like they never told us like, hey, you should say this, or you should go do this. They gave us those notebooks and like the themes and like tried to help us go in a certain direction, but I never had a producer come and say, hey, Connor, you should go say this or something like that. So it was, I mean, when they say it was like they just let whatever happens, it's pretty accurate. Like there's...
Well, that's good to know. That's like comforting as a viewer, because when you watch your reality TV, like, you want to be reality for the most part.
Yeah. But at the same time, it like kind of makes you like, wow, those people, they're that dramatic.
That's what I feel bad sometimes. Like, I was watching the show, the last couple of episodes at my grandparents' house, and I was like telling my grandpa, I was like, I'm going to go interview someone from the show. And he was like, these people? He said, you're going to be around these. He was like, this seems very dangerous for you.
Yeah.
I was like, not these people. And I was like, and also like, it's a very controlled environment. He's like, just making sure we can't have you out there like that.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he was very concerned. I think it was like episode 8, like the one where like Miriam was like screaming at Uche, and like Izzy was, talking crazy to Johnny, and these are the people? No.
You're interviewing these people?
I was like, no. Calm down.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was the most awkward moment in the pods?
The most awkward moment was probably for me, or just in general?
I mean, for you. Like, did somebody ask you like something that you're like, ooh, like, I don't want to answer that?
The sex date was tough to talk about.
That's a
because
lot.
You've got a bunch of cameras on you, and you're like, okay.
You're like, how much do I share? Like,
mom and dad might see this.
For real. Like, oh my gosh, like they were showing people in the shower and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, yes. My baby.
Yeah, like that would be tough to see. But yeah, I think the sex talk day was the hardest to relax and just
act natural.
Yeah, I was on edge, like just making sure, okay, if this ever gets shown, like I need to.
Like, did you hear where they asked on like the Vial files, or I can't like the guy who was on The Bachelor, Nick Viall.
Yeah,
I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He said like somebody asked like, "What's your like your kink?" And he shared it like on the podcast. Yes, and I was like, wow, that was a lot to divulge.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to go watch his podcast. This is we're trying to keep it as clean as possible over here.
PG, yeah. But yeah, it was that day was tough just because of that. It was I'm more of a reserved person, so it was hard for me to.
I can understand.
Talk about that.
I get that for sure.
Only a couple million people will see this, so it's not a big deal.
A couple million. That's very generous of you.
Yeah.
That's very generous.
Just
I like how you put that.
It's fine.
So, like after your another question is like, what happens after you leave the pod? So like, you didn't get engaged. Like, you just get your ticket, go to the airport, go back home.
They send you home. Yeah. They send you home. We a big group of us, all the rejects got together and we
guys created
met
a band,
each other.
Houston Rejects.
Yeah, the forgotten cast. Yeah. We all got together and met each other. Put a name to a face and everything, which is cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
It was a little bit weird just because some people. I saw Miriam there. It was a little bit awkward, but
did y'all like speak, or were you getting very much like cold shoulder? Or?
It was kind of cold shoulder. I sent her a text, and once we got back, and she, I don't think she was the happiest with me, so we didn't really talk after that, and it was kind of just the end of it. So I think just the way it ended and everything, it just kind of made it to where we didn't really want to pursue anything further.
Well,
which is kind of sad.
I mean, it is, but I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah.
So it's okay. You look like you're doing all right.
Thanks.
So I think that's it for all the fan questions. I think we made it through everything.
We made it through.
We did.
High five. Let's go.
So thank you so much for coming and talking with me. It really means a lot. I've been a fan of the show since season 1.
Yeah, an OG fan.
An OG fan.
Yeah.
So
well, thanks for having me.
Yes,
thanks for having me. It was a blast. It was fun to.
You got to drink out of your cup again.
I got to. Can I keep this?
Yeah.
No.
Do you really want to keep? Why don't you show your souvenir though?
Oh yeah, I brought my.
The lens is right there.
My blanket, my what do you call it? Like
your pod.
My pod blanket, yeah, for emotional support. So if you can see my name there, yeah. So.
That's so cool. I'm glad they let you guys keep those. Did you get to keep your notebook too?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's so cool. Look at your lovely fine souvenirs.
Yeah. I still have all my stuff. I got the stuff that Miriam gave me.
What'd she give you?
She gave me a big stuffed teddy bear. It was like a Superman stuffed teddy bear.
Oh wow!
Because like in the pods one time, Chris on a night date, Chris was like, I wear glasses usually. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, you look like Clark Kent a little bit, which is I don't look like Clark Kent, but like, so you look like Clark
He's
Kent.
He's a good friend. He's hyping you up.
He was getting me ready, yeah. And Miriam either heard that or something, and so she got me like a little Superman teddy bear thing, and I would bring it with me to night dates and everything.
I almost forgot to ask you, Connor. I'm sure people want to know, like, are you single? Are you like dating? Like, what's your current relationship status?
I'm very much single right now. So
you heard it here, Connor is. He's looking. No.
Just waiting for the right person. So not in a hurry or anything, but if the right person comes along, I'm ready to meet him. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Connor.
Thank you, Asia.
You can always bring your friends if you want to. So.
Yeah. We can have another pod.
We can have a full panel, but
pod squad podcast.
All right. Well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at prettyandpinklove. Connor, what is your at? Where can we find you?
Oh, mainly Instagram, Connor_T_more. It's a tough tag.
But it's okay. I'll put it on the screen so everyone can see it.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, everyone.